It's time for This Week in WordPress, episode number 324, entitled Getting the Genie Out of Corey's Huge Bottle. It was recorded on Monday, the 10th of February, 2025. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and today I'm joined by three fabulous people. First one is Michelle Frechette. She's our co-host for today, but also I'm joined by Tim Nash and also by Corey Mass. We're here to talk about WordPress. Well, we get a little bit derailed at the beginning, talking about various other bits and pieces, about the fact that most WordPressers seem to have some sort of music in their background. We then do properly get into the WordPress bits and pieces. And to start off, we talk about the roadmap to WordPress 6.8, what is coming, what are the new features that are going to be landing. Then it's a little bit of an intro into WordCamp Asia. If you're heading to Manila, what are the kind of things that you might be able to do in the event as well as outside the event. A long conversation is had all about sponsorship of WordPress events, WordCamps in particular. How are sponsors going to be vetted in the future? Who is keeping the guardrails up there? And then we talk about some events. We talk about CloudFest, and we talk about another online event for publishers in particular. And then we get into the WooCommerce rebrand. I don't know if you noticed, but they've got a new logo. That's really nice. Simply Static have a hosted option. And there's a variety of other things in the podcast as well, including Corey's huge bottle and the inevitable conversation about AI. It's all coming up next on This Week in WordPress. This episode of the WP Builds podcast is brought to you by GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more at go.me/WP Builds. And by Bluehost. Redefine your web hosting experience with Bluehost Cloud. Managed WordPress hosting that comes with lightning-fast websites, 100% network uptime, and 24/7 priority support. With Bluehost Cloud, the possibilities are out of this world. Experience it today at bluehost.com/cloud. And by Omnisend. Do you sell your stuff online? Then meet Omnisend. Yes, that Omnisend. The email and SMS tool that helps you make $73 for every dollar spent. The one that's so good, it's almost boring. Hate the excitement of roller coaster sales? Prefer a steady line going up? Try Omnisend today at omnisend.com. Hello. Hello, 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 little old lady. Do you remember Cholton and the Wheelies, Tim?
No.
Oh, okay, fine. I won't go anywhere with that.
Okay.
It was a UK show, and there was a guy that used to. One of the main characters started that way. Hello, little old lady, and so it went. And I suddenly had that in my head, so I thought I'd use it. But now feel like an absolute moron.
No, I mean,
Right, I'm going to carry on. Episode 324. I've got some kind of weird echo. I don't know whose thing it is, but somebody's audio seems to be coming back through my ears. So if one of you could address that,
hello.
maybe put in the. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
No, I'm trying to mess with you by repeating what you say, so it echoes.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind. No, I think I don't know who, but somebody, I've got my audio coming through. Never mind, we'll press on regardless. I can sure that I can deal with it. This is episode number 324 of This Week in WordPress. And I am joined, as always, by three fabulous folk. First of all, in the corner, am I going to get this right? Yeah, down there is Michelle Frechette, the co-host for this week. Hello, Michelle. How are you?
Hello. Hopefully you can hear me. I switched mics.
Yeah, you've got like a load of technical equipment in the background there. It looks like a storage for tools and stuff.
It is.
Oh.
It is. I have to pull out all my old tools and all those various places and get them into the storage and then put the storage back. So
okay. You're in the process.
It's in process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, there's Michelle Frechette anyway. And Michelle Frechette is the Director of Community Engagement for Stellar WP at Liquid Web. She's also the Executive Director of poststatus.com. In addition to all of that, Michelle is the podcast barista at WP Coffee Talk, co-founder of Underrepresented in Tech, and creator of WP Speakers and WP Career Pages. Author, blogger, and frequent organizer and speaker at WordPress tech events. She also is living outside of Rochester, New York, where she is an avid nature photographer. And you can learn more about her if you just want the one simple URL with all of those other ones attached, I'm sure. Meet Michelle.online is probably the best place to go.
That's it.
Thank you for joining us again, Michelle. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
The next one over there is Tim Nash. Now, Tim Nash normally gets me to do something pretty humiliating at the beginning of the show by reading things out in, like, I don't know, in sign language or reading things out with song or so. Yeah, I've just given him an idea. Oh, oh no. Anyway, I went to the show notes today looking for the probably difficult to achieve biography, only to discover that it's not there. He did write one, but somebody else must have overwritten it when they pressed update to the show notes, which I'm so glad about. Because that means I just get to hand it over to Tim and say, introduce yourself.
Have you ever felt this suspicious feeling that someone went along? It's strange.
It wasn't me, I promise you.
Hi, I'm Tim, and basically I just come along here to make Nathan do silly things, and now I'm wondering how much a set of semaphore flags are going to cost.
Yeah, okay. That's the one that they do for shipping, right? And you, oh gosh. Well, we could spend the whole hour and I'll get 3 words out. It wouldn't be that much fun. Or we could do maybe Morse code or something. We could try that next time. But for now, just tell us who you are in your own voice, singing or otherwise.
Well, I am Tim. I am a WordPress security consultant. It's really hard when I do this. It's much easier to get you to do it more.
Yeah.
I'm a WordPress security consultant and regular panelist on this show. So most people hopefully know me.
It says Doom Speaker.
I think he should have to do that in the form of a dirge. So it says Doom Speaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Or some kind of
It's not so much fun when I'd have to do
medieval chant or something like that.
Yeah, I could. I mean, if you haven't come across this,
exactly like Corey's doing.
no, if you haven't come across it, look up Bardcore.
Oh yeah, Bard what?
Oh, it's
Bardcore.
fantastic.
Okay, Bardcore, like hardcore, but with Bard at the
Bard
beginning.
in the front, yeah.
Oh, is it like really hardcore, like medieval monk chanting or something?
It's medieval music, but with pop songs.
Oh, that's great. I went to York Minster yesterday. This is this great big old, let's just use the word cathedral because basically it looks and feels like that. And I had these headphones with me and I put on a load of Gregorian chanting as I walked around, and it was very atmospheric, I have to say. It kind of brought a tear to my eye, actually. It was pretty amazing.
Can I attempt it?
Yeah. Go on.
Tim Nash in security always likes to bring us doom. WordPress.
Wonderful. You know what? We should definitely get on the show a little bit early and do like a 5-minute practice of that, because if we all have to just drone one note, it makes the whole thing sound so much better.
That was fantic. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. I've seen
got,
Monty Python.
We've got courage. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. And finally,
Hello.
down there, we've got Corey Mass. Hello, Corey.
That's my Monty Python.
Here we go.
Hello, I'm Corey.
Hello. He is the founder and creator of OMG IMG, WordPress freelance developer. That was actually a pretty good attempt at a British accent, quite a regional British accent, but that was pretty good. I'm trying to pin where that was.
Monty Python.
Oh, Monty Python, yeah.
And 100 years ago, the phrase that comes to mind is very theatrical. I actually could do a lot of different accents, including different regions and whatnot. And it's all gone out the window. And now it's just screechy Monty Python.
Yeah,
to deliver.
He comes by it honestly because his father smells of elderberries.
Oh yeah. That was that was French though. That was a French man speaking from a parapet, talking down.
I shall taunt you a second time.
Right, oh no, we've totally lost it. We're going to go on the Monty Python. But no, it's fine. But I really appreciate you all, the three of you, joining me today, and we will try to get away from the accents. However, just occurred to me, right, and this this has occurred to me many times, and I'm just curious. I'm just going to put a question to all three of you, and it was reminded by what we can see in Michelle's picture there. I do podcast interviews, multiple a week with WordPressers, and very often we've got a camera like this. I reckon more than 50% of the time, they are a musician of some kind. They play something, or they have played something, or their children are playing something, and they've stopped playing, but they did as a kid. I'm just going to go round. Just let's see if 50% of us have had musical ambitions in our past. Let's start with Tim. Did you play, or do you play anything?
I used to play the guitar.
Yeah.
I do still possess one, and my daughter plays the trumpet.
So there we go. 1 out of 1 so far. Michelle, I can see the instruments there, but I don't know if it's something that you did, do, no longer do, never did. What's your relationship with like musical instruments?
So I have a very musical family, but they have multiple Grammys in my family, by the way, Grammy Awards. And I'll spill the tea later. But I've played trumpet, guitar, piano, mellophone, French horn, and I've been part of the drum line as well.
Right. So, okay. Wow, that's loads. Just like your regular biography, your musical biography is also pretty incredible. So that's 2 out of 2. And already, when I said that, yeah, look. Do we count that? Is that real? Is that real music?
Only actually would officially call myself a DJ in the last 5 years, but have been producing dance music for 25 years.
Oh, so you're definitely
or more.
Like, do you play a traditional instrument? Keys, drums, string instrument.
Taught myself enough drumming in high school to be in the mandatory punk bands,
right?
But nothing. And I've tried to take. I took piano lessons from the loveliest little old lady in New York City for a few years, and so at some point was able to muddle through a few things, but
yeah,
no, it's all computer generated.
Yeah, but still a deep interest.
A lot
in
of
music.
Yeah, right. And I mean, and like I consider myself a percussionist because by making I've always made dance music with a lot of polyrhythm, and so fairly complicated rhythmic structures and stuff like that.
Wow,
not just unts.
Yeah.
Whoops and cats and whoops and cats.
So that's 3 out of 3. And for my part, I'm no longer what I would call a musician, but as a child, I used to be very much into playing the guitar, and my family are very musical and what have you. Okay, so that's 4 out of 4. And it's like that wherever I go in the WordPress space, there's just musicians everywhere. And I think there must be, it has to be more than coincidence. Because 50% of my friends in the real world do not play musical instruments. It's way lower than that.
Music is very mathematical.
Yeah.
And so code and music go hand in hand. As a matter of fact, these are my father's guitars. And after he passed, I inherited them. And I joke all the time that by just virtue of hanging guitars in the back, I now look like a developer.
That's exactly. You see, there's very often a musical instrument lurking in the background, and so
you also never have any friends around, so that kind of gives you away too.
I went for instead of having I just went for hexagons instead.
But you never actually light up.
No, I'm really good. I can do I can play the hexagons really well. I've got all the hexagons
and the hexagons.
Yeah. Oh, I'm good on the hexagon. Made myself chuckle there. I don't know why. But anyway, so straw poll, dear listener, if anybody's watching this live and you want to just comment, do you play a musical instrument? Have you ever played a musical instrument? Just let us know. I'd be curious to know.
Quite a few in the comments.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's coming already, is it? Okay. Speaking of that, let's just crack on. Let's just have a look into the comments. So I'll just say some names of people that have popped up. So hello, says Tammy Lister. Nice to see you. Reese Wynn is joining us from a bitterly cold Newton Le Willows. Influence WP, so that's Ryan from Charlotte in the US. Taco is joining us from a cloudy, oh no, I would say Vichin. Please tell me I got that kind of vaguely right. Hi, happy Monday, says Aaron Bowie. Taco is saying other things. Oh, nice, Brandon from China. Working late as always.
I want to say thank you for Brandon. I couldn't post his comment, but he alerted me to a typo on the Post Status website. So thank you, Brandon. I did correct it.
That's cool. That's very nice.
I'd also like to point out that now I'm seeing music references everywhere. So Happy Mondays, already mentioned. That's a
Oh, yeah.
There was one other that I thought I saw.
Yeah. Okay. It is an honor. In honor of Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl. It's a diss on track on other. Okay, this is about the whatever that thing was, the Gregorian chant thing, probably. Here we go. Web friendly guy. He's not a security expert. He's a that's a Monty Python reference. He's not a security expert. He's a very naughty boy.
I would like to point out that those are not mutually exclusive.
No, they're not. Marcus is joining us from Florida, Orlando, and Courtney Robertson is okay. So here it begins. This must be the point where the comments reach the comment about music.
Yes.
I played 7-string electric violin and 5-string mandolin. Not only that, you managed to find the one emoji that this platform can consume, apparently, which is a violin, which is great. Well done. Tammy Lister, flute over here, cello a long time ago, and piano, not played for years, but learning music as a kid means code was easier. That, I think, there's got to be a connection there. I think there's bits of the brain that are built up learning music which correspond to bits which maybe overlap with writing code. I have no idea if any of that sentence is true, but it feels like there might be. Taco says, I used to play the saxophone, but I would not be able to do it anymore, I'm afraid. I still have it there. Yeah, it's nice to have, right? Lying around. One day that thing will come out of a box. 8 minutes later, it'll go back in the box. But at least...
I totally can see Taco with a saxophone.
Yeah.
Or even one of those really large baritone, big saxophone.
He should bring it to WordCamps. Even if he doesn't play it, he should just have it around
playing
his neck.
really smooth jazz.
Yeah, really smooth. Yeah. Like jazzers have always got really cool names, and Taco's got a really cool name. Jazzers, jazz musicians, and skiers. All skiers have got cool names. Don't know why that is either. Cammy McNamara, it's only 28 this morning, so we're on to the weather again. I'm waiting for the sun to appear and get outside to exercise. Good morning, friends. Sorry, I've hijacked the weather conversation all about the musical instruments. Have we done that one? Yeah, done that one. Cammy, piano. Elliot is saying hello. Patricia, hello. Music is very mathematical. Oh, is that what Michelle was saying? That explains why I suck at both development and music. That's Taco. Right. Okay. So, bless. Yeah, I wasn't very good at music, but I enjoyed it. And I was into the kind of music where it was better to sound rubbish, the sort of punky vibe, that kind of thing. It didn't matter if you got the notes wrong. It's cooler if you did that. Anyway, we're now 18 minutes in and we haven't said a word about WordPress. But never mind, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Thank you for being such good sports. Here we go. This is our website, wpbuilds.com. I'll race through it. Put your email into that field if you want to keep up to date with what we do. And very big thank you to our 3 sponsors. We've got GoDaddy Pro, Bluehost, and OmniSend. They've been sponsoring us for absolutely ages. Thank you for keeping the lights on, helping the show carry on into the future. Really appreciate it. We have an archive. If you go to here and then here, we have our podcast archive. And a couple of podcasts came out in quick succession this week because I messed something up a little while ago. So we did 2 the last week. And the first one was I spoke to Anne McCarthy and Birgit Pauli-Hatt. We're doing a regular sort of once a quarter at the core podcast where we talk about all of the different bits and pieces that have dropped in WordPress core in the last 3 months. So go check that out. But also this chap who I was talking to, Daniel Post, who has a plugin which enables your website to do things like consume comments, post comments to Blue Sky, the increasingly popular amongst WordPressers. That's my impression anyway. Social network. It looks and behaves much like Twitter, but it doesn't have the ads at the minute and it doesn't have an algorithm. So it's quite nice. And anyway, he's built a plugin. I think he got the timing just right. He was building it before it became, a popular thing. And now it seems to be taking off. So that's really nice. And that's the interview there. And also, I do a show periodically. There's no cadence to this. It's just when we get around to it with this chap who's called Joe Dolson. And he works in the accessibility space. And we've done 4 shows now, and the latest one dropped last week as well. It's called The Accessibility Show. What a title that was. And this time around, we were looking at, or rather he was, looking at cookie banners and whether cookie banners can be accessible, or rather whether cookie banners are accessible. Short answer, not so much is the sad truth. So go and check that out. And next time we come around, Joe will probably find some ones where that isn't the sad truth, a cookie banner where it is actually possible to do it in an accessible way. So that's the WP build stuff. On to the WordPressy stuff. So 6.8 is coming down the pike. And this was written a few days ago by Krupal Lakia. Sorry for the name if I got that wrong. WordPress 6.8 coming. It's set to be released on the 15th of April. And there's a few foundational features which were introduced in the previous versions, which were going to be improved upon. My understanding is that the WordPress core offering, maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that it's going to be less featureful in the near future because of the repositioning specifically of the automatic workforce onto for-profit things. And I'm guessing, with automatic being the biggest contributor to WordPress core, I'm guessing that in the future, maybe a lot of these releases are going to be a less featureful. We'll see. Is that your impression, everybody? Sort of, yeah, nodding, maybe. Yeah, okay. Right, let's go through what's in this one. So there's going to be a few design improvements. And again, this sort of speaks to that. It says it's working on polish, fixing and clearing issues. So there's no great focus on brand new features, excepting, here's some stuff which is interesting, the zoom in, zoom out mode, which I really like because my blog posts tend to be quite long and have different patterns dropped in. So it's nice to see what's going on. You'll be able to apply different styles, section styles and designs directly from the toolbar. So you'll be able to cycle through whilst in that design mode, which is quite nice. Also, when you look for the fonts, it will actually show what the font looks like instead of it just being, this is the name of the font, but no indication of what it will look like. I always think using the name of the font is a poor way of doing that. So, for example, the Sora font there, that's not really showing me a fat lot about what that font will end up looking like. I want the lazy dog jumps over the bat with the man holding the marmalade sentence, whatever that one says, the one. Because it would give me some more indication of what all the letters look like. There I can see an S, an O, an R, and an A, and that's about it. But anyway.
Or a hover with more preview or something.
All right, there you go. Something like that, yeah, where it could do the lazy cat dog sentence thing. Also, you will get a different toast notification when your images have been cropped or rotated. It's not really a lot, but there it is. And then, this is quite exciting. Support for speculative loading. And I hear you all cry, what's speculative loading? Well, my very untechnical understanding is that based upon what you are doing on the web page, this API, if you like, the speculation rules API will make decisions. That sounds very AI based, doesn't it? But it will decide to go and pre-fetch other things. So, for example, I don't know if it's done on things like hover state. If you hover over the contact us link, there'll be an impression that, let's load the contact us page. Therefore, having that sort of cached somewhere else. I'm going to put that one to Corey and Tim. Have I butchered that horribly, or is that about what it is? Tim's sort of a bit.
No, I mean you've more or less got that. Just to be very clear, there is absolutely no AI in stuff.
It was because I used the word. It made the decision. It sounds like this API can think things. Yeah.
I mean, if we go back to the very basic core that an AI is a statistical model that's running an if statement, then sure, it's just like AI. But these are literally just a bunch of if statements. If you're doing this, then it will do. Then it will. And it basically, if it does, you hit something that's in the if statement, it will choose whether or not to act. So there's no AI here, don't worry.
But is it things like that though, where the mouse is located at this current moment? If you hover over something for, I don't know, 0.4 of a second, there's an intent there. Let's load that page regardless of whether the click occurs.
That's the core of it. Yeah. But it's also if you ask AI to speculate about the speculation of speculative loading, you'll get your answer.
Yeah, you'll consume all the world's resources as it just is like playing chess. No, it's like playing tic-tac-toe, noughts and crosses we call it, against itself. Yeah, remember that film? Okay, but that I think is really exciting. That's a really cool thing. So even potentially a site which wasn't very well optimized, this is another lever which you can pull that WordPress will pull for you on your behalf to have the appearance, anyway, the simulation of your website loading really quickly.
The downside to that, and Speculative, one of the reasons for using the Speculative loading API is that it helps a little bit with this, is that let's say you're on 3G or you're on low bandwidth networks. Before we would things like there were plenty of plugins out there that used to make you feel like it was going really fast, and what it was doing was really once you finished loading one page, it just started loading the next pages that were in the top 5 links or whatever. Whereas the speculative loading will actually also check things like, hey, I'm on a 3G network, I probably shouldn't click the load the next page until you actually ask for it, because we might be burning your bandwidth. So this is a sort of halfway house between the two approaches. And so this is only going to partially burn your bandwidth.
Okay.
I mean, this is really helpful, right, for those people in countries who don't have the speed that we have for networks and things like that too, right? So if you are in a developing nation where internet's a little bit spotty, perhaps this is something that could help, especially since a lot of people are still using their phones for those things. So
and just general travel, if you're going on a train and you go through the tunnel, in theory the pages should already be cached ahead. Unfortunately, all the DNS requests won't be for anything.
So it's gotcha. So okay, everybody, thumbs up, thumbs down. Is this a good idea to go into court? I'm on the firmly thumbs up side. I think.
Yeah, of course.
I can't see a reason why not. Yeah.
I look support for anything.
Yeah. Okay.
This is my release. I am one of the release coordinators for 6.8, so I like it. Of course I do.
All the bits that are in. Yeah. Okay, so that's that.
You were commenting earlier about whether people like something. I believe you can comment on this post. So if there are things you have ideas, like how to show the fonts and things a little bit easier. Did somebody just play a guitar?
No, but I was wondering if somebody struck a gong or something like that.
Sorry, it was me. I was trying to shut my watch up, which I inadvertently not turned off notifications before the start.
No, we know you've got like a range of glockenspiels.
And I went to go and turn the notification off on my watch and hit my mic stand in the post.
How funny.
Because I don't get to normally have the mic stand because of
I'm calling it. It was F sharp. Yeah.
Says the man who says he's not a musician.
I don't even know if
anyway,
F sharp's a no.
I believe you can leave comments. So if you have specific things you'd like to comment, you can do that below, right?
Yeah, you can. You totally can.
You have to be logged in, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, the speculative loading thing, despite the fact that I've butchered it, go and explore that, because I think that's genuinely really interesting, and obviously the ability to make things quicker and anticipate what it is that you are going to be doing is incredibly useful. And then the very final thing from here is the polish. Again, they're using the word polish. It's not really new features so much, although I guess maybe it is. Polish the query loop block, and they're adding enhancements like filter by year, pagination, fetching results by adding an offset, and block spacing improvements. These are all things which I think have been added to many third-party solutions in the past, but now they're going to be in the core block. And there's other various bits and pieces as well. Oh, and the bottom one, which I thought Tim might want to speak to, because I don't understand this, the security enhancements. One thing was mentioned, various security related enhancements are planned for 6.8, the most significant of which is the switch to using bcrypt for password hashing. And at that point, I'm just going to say, why? Why would we do that? What's the benefit of bcrypt?
Because we're slowly but surely, people are no longer going to be using my bcrypt password plugin. So basically, whenever you hash a plugin, you're using an algorithm to do the hashing, and these algorithms can be broken in certain circumstances, often with large amounts of computers over a very long period of time, and therefore, in theory, your password could be compromised. By default, many years ago, we had some very insecure password methods for hashing, and over time, PHP has had many alternatives, and we've been stuck in mcrypt world for a very long time. The whole way that passwords work in WordPress are filterable, and so you can upgrade, and there's multiple plugins. I've got one, but the people behind Roots, the theme, had a password as well for a very long time that did bcrypt. And this is good because now bcrypt will become the default, hopefully. There will be some fun. Everybody's probably will find that you have to obviously know the old hashing algorithms to morph to the new ones. So there's a little bit of work that they might have to do. And I imagine there's going to be lots of edge cases of people being logged out briefly, but it should all solve itself nice and easily. Of course, it's wonderful that they're moving to bcrypt. The rest of the world's on Argon, which is Argon 2, which is the newer standards. But we'll get there.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to like wax lyrical about how bcrypt is like the shiny new object. You're saying it's a little bit old.
It was the shiny new object. But what I would say is that it's shiny new and more importantly stable. So it's not shiny and new, but it is stable and it is standard on every single hosting platform you're going to get.
Okay.
So this should just if your hosting platform does not support bcrypt, you should not be on that platform and move.
Okay. And so if I am a regular WordPress user, will I have anything to do, anything to notice? You mentioned maybe briefly being logged out.
You might, depending in some very odd circumstances, you might find yourself logged out when you log back in. The problems are going to come if you somehow magically logged back in and reset your password, but you managed to reset your password before through the change happened. Then you might end up with some keys that don't work properly, and then you'd have to reset your password again. These are like the tiniest edge cases that I can think of. I imagine that they're going to happen to absolutely no one, hopefully, because it should just work.
Best security advice I can offer is never update your password and go for a really short, memorable password. Like 4 characters or something like that. That's
sure. We're helpful. Write it on a little piece of paper.
Write it on a piece of paper. Stuck to the monitor with the word password and a colon.
I'll be honest, that is not a stupid thing to do. I know people think that they joke and laugh and go, ha. It's like, no, stick your password on a monitor. If someone has broken into your house, has reached your monitor and is staring at it, going, I best keep that password because that's going to be really useful to break into Nathan's website.
Yeah, good point.
That's going to be awkward. But obviously the work environment.
Yeah.
I just pin all mine to the top of my my Twitter account. That's
a better place to put it. I once went to a security conference and genuinely there was somebody went on screen and they had a file called passwords.txt.
Oh.
And somebody dared them to open it up and he did. And obviously people took photos and things. It turned out it was somebody else's password file.
Good, that's fine. Yeah. Anyway, don't listen to me. Obviously use as strong a password as you can possibly manage. And but yeah, I get your point, honestly. And also I suppose the last thing you're going to be worried about in the advent of a criminal getting into your office and fiddling around with your computers is you're really going to be dealing with the insurance agents and the police for the next few days.
My parents used to have a password book and
my dad still does.
So does mine.
Yeah, okay. Open it up and see if you can put their username and passwords into a website. Because I guarantee that book is just full of crossed out things, random, some weird shorthand and passwords that are inconcise, just utterly.
Even my mother can't use her own password book anymore. So yeah, there you go.
The technical question today coming from Taco, is bcrypt ready for a quantum computing world, or would it be insufficient for security?
When bad actors have access to quantum computers, they're chasing your WordPress password. When the quantum computers are so consumable ready that a bad actor would easily have access to it, we will not be using bcrypt.
Okay, good.
I thought we stopped calling them bad actors and started calling them naughty boys earlier in this podcast.
No, those are the security people.
Okay. Right, anyway, there you go. So that is the stuff that's coming in WordPress 6.8. There's tons more on that article, including a bunch of accessibility improvements. I'll just put it up there. You can see there's a laundry list of different things, too many to mention. And as Michelle says, if you wish to make some commentary on that, you can. The article was published on the 6th of Feb, and it's just called Roadmap to 6.8. Okay, let's move on quickly. I just thought this was quite nice. I have now decided it wasn't. Anyway, I'm going to WordCamp Asia now, and so I was suddenly scrabbling around for things to do. And
I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll hang out with Michelle, probably. That's what will happen. But Gutenberg Times produced an article. If you are attending, it's quite a nice little summation of the different bits and pieces that are going on. So the fact that it's almost like 3 conferences in one. You've got a contributor day, which is kind of separate. And then you've got the conference and the talks. And then there's this youth camp, which I confess I didn't know much about, which is scheduled for the same time as the main event, and it's for 8 to 17-year-olds, quite separate. And then there's different bits and pieces that people in the community have written about Philippine culture, Philippine food, and also the normal arrangement of the after party and some side events that are going on, what you can do at Contributor Day, and a whole load more, basically. So go and have a look. This article, if you're going to be attending the event, it's happening, I think, 20th to the 22nd. I think I've got the right date for that. It's in not this week, but the following week in Manila, Philippines. And if you go in, I will hope to see you there. That'd be
There
good.
will be a panel on AI moderated by Taco, and I'm one of the panelists. So if you want to talk about more of what's happening in AI and your fear for your job, come to that panel.
So also there's so Nomad Skateboarding, thank you for contributing. There's an important discussion going in Make Accessibility on what's being done for the WP admin in 6.8. Okay, thank you. So you can check that out. Make Slack. Right. Okay, let's move on. Let's put the next piece up. Now, this one's not new, actually. It's like probably getting on for, what was the date on this? 31st of January. So it's a couple of weeks old. I don't quite know how it escaped my attention, but it did. And it's called Announcements, Sponsor Review Process Changes. And you can see I've highlighted loads here, but I'll just kind of try and paraphrase it. But I'll start at the beginning. The community team has always had guidelines around sponsorship, specifically for GPL and WordPress trademark compliance. These guidelines are outlined in the WordCamp Organizer Handbook and the agreement among WordCamp organizers, speakers, sponsors, and volunteers. And then it goes on to sort of say, whilst those in theory were enforceable, it was very much left to the organizers to kind of get on enforcing those. And maybe it was more of a sort of trust system than in the past. However, since, and I'm back to reading it, since late 2024, a more thorough vetting process of sponsors have been in place. Project leadership has mandated this new process, which means community program managers were tasked to manage previously. The new process enforces, so it's all around the WP Engine automatic legal wrangle. And it's around, sorry. And it's all around trademark and GPL compliance. So for example, you won't be able to become a sponsor at the event if you are infringing that. And honestly, I don't want to get into, because I genuinely don't know what is and what isn't falling inside and outside the scope of that. But here's an example. If you were to use a term like WordPress hosting on your website, that would be an immediate nope. You're going to have to go and become compliant, i.e. change what you currently publish on your website and wherever you're publishing it. And in addition, all sponsors at the moment going forwards are going to have to be authorized by Matt Mullenweg, and it says and Mary Hubbard. So I don't know if that and is a or an and from project leadership. And then it says the new process has caused significant delays in receiving payments from sponsors, which is a requirement for announcing their support. We, the program managers, understand organizers' frustrations with the process and are working to improve it. And I probably said everything there is to say about that. So new process, all sponsors to WordPress events in the future, all of that has to go through Matt and Mary Hubbard. Now, I didn't know if there was some sort of caveat there in terms of the size of the event. Like Tim and I went to this event called WordCamp Whitley Bay in when was that, Tim?
To which I sponsored, no less.
Yeah. I hope you didn't have WordPress hosting written.
I don't believe. I mean, I'm just imagining the process for a small WordCamp like that.
So
Matt looking at it going, who?
Do you think it would have its tentacles in that though? Because because the way I read that, Matt and Mary would both have to approve. And that event, there's like 80, I don't know what the number is, but there's like 80 people in the room, something like that. You know, it's fairly small. It's one day. It starts at 9. It's over by 5. And obviously, if there was a bottleneck for sponsorship for an event like that, that could be kind of a bit critical for that event kind of going on or not.
I mean,
Whereas
it'll destroy it.
Yeah, whereas the bigger ones, the WordCamp Asias and Europe and US, you can imagine that there's more money going around. There's probably more resources put into all of those kind of things, so it might be a bit more straightforward. Anyway, there's the story. If you want to talk about it and get into it, feel free.
There was a time when sensible contextual choices could be made. Like, I remember going to a WordCamp Birmingham, I think it was Birmingham, Alabama, and it was there were 60 people there. Sorry for anybody who planned it. Maybe it was bigger, but my recollection. But anyway, very small camp, right? And there were a couple of sponsored tables in front. Bluehost, because they were whatever it's called, a universal host and or universal
Global
sponsor
sponsor.
kind of thing. Global sponsor, thank you. The
We don't speak for
universe,
Mars.
global, some stellar intergalactic body. But there was also a table that was empty, and there was a little placard that said, please put down your stickers, put down your business cards, put down your, and so, yes, you were not a sponsor, but it was a great way to network, and it was a great way to spread the word. And it's the only WordCamp I've ever seen it at, and maybe I'm outing somebody that then they broke rules, but this was 100 years ago. But I miss that kind of, obviously if you're spending 100,000 or 200,000, like, there need to be rules, but it's how much regulation are we going to introduce to the point where we no longer have sponsors, especially for the 8 tiny camps that still exist and manage to exist.
Yeah, so that was sort of my concern, is that you can imagine that Matt Mullenweg and Mary are like really busy with a variety of things, and it did sort of imply in the article that there's hopefully some sort of streamlined process. Maybe it's more of a, I don't know, maybe in theory they rubber stamp it, but rather than doing one at a time, maybe the team go to them with 15 or 20 and they just rubber stamp. But also, I guess the problem might arise if people, like, let's say, for example, you just want to be controversial and you want to show up to a WordPress event and you want to wear a t-shirt from a company, I don't know, some company that you own, and you just want to write WordPress hosting by something like that. I just wonder if that kind of thing, like what are the proclivities and things gonna, I guess you can wear anything on your person. I don't know. There must be some rules around that. Tim looked like he was taking a breath to say something. Maybe it wasn't there.
No, well, first of all, let's just get the important bit out of the way, which is that obviously sponsoring a WordCamp is such a cost-effective marketing tool that people race to give money over because they know it will convert their products so beautifully and brilliantly. And this is the best opportunity as a marketer you're ever going to have. And it's in no way something that you do for the community purely to let the community have events. Yes, there is branding opportunities, but let's face it, this is a sucky way to do marketing.
There was a great big spoonful of sarcasm in there, wasn't there? I'm just
a little bit, yes.
Yeah.
Consequently, when somebody is going, hey, boss, I want to sponsor this event. It's a great grassroots event. It will, oh yeah, I appreciate that they've put all these rules. No, you can't have the contact list. Don't be silly. No, you can't do this. No, we can't do this. No, we can't do that. Oh, and we may be able to sponsor. What do you mean, may? Oh, well, there's some bloke somewhere in America who's going to decide whether or not we can. On what basis? I don't know. It just is. Can you imagine being the person who has to have that conversation with the person who's going to give the money over, out of context of everything we know about the drama that's happening? From their perspective, they're just going to go, what? No. Go spend it on PPC, or go spend it on that other conference, the one over there, Drupal conference, where they seem to be happy to take our money. It's a real, kick in the teeth if you're like, oh yeah, and we don't even want your money. And let these small WordCamps really desperately need the money. These are the grassroots events that need this money. So if they're going to be cut off or even strangled slightly, bearing in mind that they're not getting a humongous amount of financial support outside of the sponsors they attract themselves, it's really hard. And also, a lot of these sponsors are local. The whole idea of local WordCamps is they're meant to be local. They're not. Some of these aren't even WordPress. specific. They might be the fish and chip shop that's going to sponsor the food.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if it does cause a bottleneck. So a couple of things from that. Firstly, I wonder if this process will change rapidly in the face of issues which may occur. You know, the bottleneck being Mary and Matt's available time to actually make decisions like that, and if that changes. But also, I wonder if there's, I don't know, a document that's going to be drawn up which explicitly says this is allowed, this isn't, and you know we're gonna trust you again. Sorry, that is to say we're going to trust the organizers of the event, sort of hand that trust back again and say you're now given the
You got
authority.
it right the first time.
Yeah, one of the things in here, there was something which says it's going to be like this for the foreseeable future. I can't remember. I can't find that line. I apologize, but there was something which said, it says it is unclear how long this process will be in place. As we expect this to be in place long term, we will continue to look at ways to improve the process. So that I'm just sort of reading between the lines there and thinking, okay, this is maybe the new default for the foreseeable future.
But
And
to be clear, without sponsors, WordCamps cannot exist.
yeah, so in relation to that, Patricia has said, as a WordCamp mentor, event supporter, in brackets, I can confirm it's valid for all size of events, not only flagship. Okay, so that was in response to me saying, I wonder what size of event it affects. Michelle had a good conversation with Mary on the Post Status podcast the other day. No info on this, but nice to hear who they are. You, Michelle, as in this Michelle. Oh, nice. Did you get into this topic by any chance?
No, it wasn't getting to know you with Mary. I don't think enough people know who she is and, you know, what her responsibilities are, her past, that kind of thing. So it really was more along the lines of getting to know who she is,
Okay.
sitting in this really lofty position. So
If you want to drop the link into the
I did.
private. Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I'll track that out in a minute.
It's on,
And then,
it's on YouTube. The post should go live today.
oh, okay. There's always, so we're back to Patricia. There's always been rules and sponsors vetted. What is new is that WordPress hosting is no longer accepted. Sponsor must replace this with, and then I'm having to read
Hosting
it from
for
the screen,
WordPress, things
hosting
like
for
that, yeah.
WordPress on their site, or something which isn't WordPress hosting.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, so
grammar alone says that if you put something in front of, like, Michelle hosting means that it's owned by Michelle, right? So that's the whole idea, is that hosting for WordPress is different than WordPress hosting.
yeah. I mean,
Now it just sounds like you're hosting WordPress.com instead.
The point being, I'm guessing that the sponsors won't be told you cannot sponsor under any circumstances. It's more go fix this, go fix that. I suppose maybe the point of it though is that if Matt and Mary are the ultimate custodians of the yes/no decision, then it's not on the volunteers to make decisions about tricky language like, look, does that contravene the trademark? Is that within and that without? We've got these two companies which have got something similar, but they're not quite the same. We think that one passes, but this one doesn't. Maybe it can go via Matt to the lawyers and then back and forth. Anyway, the point is that's now how it is. And so if you're attending a WordCamp, you know, especially if you're organizing one, that is going to be the new process. Whether or not it's impacted people so far who've been declined entry to a sponsor slot, I don't know. All right, let's move on. Right, we now have this. Actually, we'll come back to that in a minute. I'll do that later. This is an event I didn't know anything about. It's called WP Publisher Success Week, and it's happened once before. Well, at least I think it has, because it says the second annual WP Publisher Success Week, and it's mooted as gain high impact insights into tools in short, intensive sessions that will empower you to migrate to WordPress with a focus on data management, SEO, security, and scalability. It kind of sounds like it's just an event which is trying to woo people over to WordPress, bring them along, especially if they are, you know, in the publisher sphere, content creators, big news organizations. And I was looking at this, which is who attended the WP thing in 2024. And, you know, there's some interesting names. I don't know how they get the metric on how they attended, whether it's, you know, I don't know how they do that. But here's some idea of the kind of content that's going on. Ray Murray, who is on the podcast from time to time. got a session called The Evolution of WordPress and What's Coming in 2025. That's also with Vahe Arabian, I want to say. There's another one called Streamlining Editorial Workflows for a Major WordPress Migration. Another one, Website Migration Essentials, Security at Scale Enterprise Insights Workshop. And then Unlocking AI Potential for Media Publishers, Real World Strategies and Insights. So it's 5 or 6 little things in one day. And it all feels like just trying to assuage people's fears, in a sense, about why you might have a problem coming to WordPress. So there's that. There it is. It is at that URL, stateofdigitalpublishing.com.
Immediately following WordCamp Asia.
Okay. Yeah. No, literally immediately following it, isn't it? It's right
And
afterwards.
it's a 4-day event. So there you go.
Had you heard of this? I don't even.
I-
I think Ray maybe put me in touch with it because I spoke to her the other week, and coincidentally, she's one of the speakers. I imagine it was her that told me about it, but I had not heard about it.
I hadn't either.
No. Okay. Anybody? Or should we move on? Let's move on, I think. Okie doke. Speaking of WordPress events and things like that, this is another one happening in the near future. If you enjoy roller coasters and, like Disneyland, basically, CloudFest is the place for you. It's an event entirely based, like they take over a theme park. I remember the first person who told me that. I really had to think about that for a moment. What? Really? Actually? Yeah, they take over the entire theme park. And I don't think that hero image does this event justice, really. There's not a ride in sight. There's just people looking at a conference in a sort of ordinary way. But they have pivoted a little bit in the last few years, is my understanding, to have a specific WordPress day where all the things WordPress get talked about. So I thought I'd mention it. It is happening this year. It is one day of the much larger CloudFest day. It's going to be on the 17th of March, 2024. And my understanding, that looks to me like, is that Jonathan Wald and Robert Jacoby? I'm going to put money on the fact that
I
it's
believe
them.
so.
Yeah, I think it's them. And it sounds like a bit of a riot. It does sound like if you enjoy your hedonism with your conferencing, this is the thing for you. I saw some pictures of the accommodation last year and things, and it looks really good. The only feedback that I have had from people that have been in the past has been ecstatically overwhelming. They seem to think it's a bit of a breath of fresh air attending an event where there really is more than just the event. There's something on offer to sort of keep you interested in the evening. It's just a bit of a laugh. There's music, there's entertainment, there's roller coasters, all of that kind of stuff. And so there you go. WP Day at CloudFest. Anybody want to say anything about that one?
I've heard good things.
Yeah.
But I'm unable to attend so far.
Mm.
Schedules are crazy. Yeah.
It's in the southwest, I want to say, of Germany, not far from Strasbourg, which I know is not in Germany, but it's not far from there. So if you haven't got your ticket yet. Oh, that's another thing to say. We were talking about WordCamps earlier, and the fact that the ticket price is, ticket price for a WordCamp is typically very, very low. Because this is outside of the sort of chapter program, and there's, I'm guessing it's for profit. It's got kind of more realistic, for want of a better word, ticket pricing. So I think it's into the, multiple hundreds of dollars if you want to.
It's probably
So-
worth emphasizing it's part of a larger conference that is aimed at hosting companies and
Yeah.
hosting providers. It's not necessarily, and it was never, it's got more WordPress has been creeping in over the last few years. But I remember going many years ago, and it wasn't WordPress related. So it's like,
Did you enjoy it?
oh yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
There's nothing wrong with being wined and dined, and especially if you work in that industry, there was lots of vendors who, unlike perhaps in the WordPress space, if your only time you've been to a conference is a WordCamp, then going to something like CloudFest will make your mind explode, both with the cost, but also with just how different the events are, how leaky your data is going to become, and how many people are going to be talking to you on email for the next 10 years, but also just how much money is spent and how much, people you are there to be sold to, but not in a necessarily massively negative way. And if you maximize your time there, you can probably come out with new wardrobes, new lots of new stationery, and some very nice goodies, along with obviously knowledge.
Bob Don was there last year, and like there was a guy giving away, those remarkable things. It's like a tablet, but done with e-ink, so it's the size of like an iPad or something, but it's a bit like a Kindle, but with a pen. There's a guy just giving those away. They're like $500 or something. This guy just had a stack of them, and he said, "Yeah, I have one of these."
Many years ago, I went to a conference in San Francisco, and I flew out of Heathrow, and I had 2 laptops because I had my personal laptop and my work laptop. When I came back, I had to go through customs with 5 laptops.
Oh my goodness.
Because 2 sponsors decided to give laptops away if you when you were on the first day, you literally walked in and they gave you a laptop in a fag, and then 2 sponsors gave laptops away. So there was 3. I got 3 laptops at that one event.
I'm guessing customs didn't let you walk through with all that, or did they?
The thing was, I got through, turned around to see the person I was traveling with, who was emptying out his, and I'm like counting it. He's like on his 7th laptop. It went round again.
Yeah.
Oh my
At a
word.
limit. It's at San Francisco, they must be used to this. As you're coming into the airport, they must be used to this sort of stuff. But it's like, no, 7 is too many.
Can I ask Tim?
6 is fine. 7 is too many.
6 is fine. 7, way too many.
There is a line.
Tim, like, you said you went out with 2 laptops, one work and one, I don't know what you said the other one was, but you're like personal. What's the, like, do you not just,
Why?
before you go on a conference, do you not just combine the data of the 2 and say, I'll just have one, it'll be really easy?
We're talking nearly 10 plus years ago, and I carried a corporate work laptop that had been wiped due to who I was working for at the time. It was a brand new laptop that was given to me to travel with. And it was wiped on the way back because I was going to a foreign country, which with different laws and different regulations.
Oh, I see. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. These days, of course, with cloud storage being ubiquitous and very low cost, everything's in the cloud, isn't it? It doesn't matter whether you lose the thing on the way out and get stuck in an airport terminal. You just pick up where you left off. We have apparently got a so Patricia says CloudFest is an amazing event. She says she'll see you there if you can go. She also says when you subscribe to their newsletter, you get a code for a free ticket. Oh, okay, there you go. If you want a free ticket, subscribe to the newsletter. That's great advice. That's brilliant.
Good to know.
There's a CloudFest in US in Miami happening in November. That's good. And also another one in Port Aventura in October. I don't know where that is, but doesn't sound like the UK, that's for sure. And they've got another one in a theme park in Spain.
That's Porto.
And it's Port Aventura.
That's the one. Okay, that's the one. That's in Spain. So if you want to do a tech conference and you like roller coasters, I think it's a done deal.
I'm more of a teacups kind of girl. I don't do the roller coasters anymore, but
No. I used to love roller coasters, and then when I became a certain age, I suddenly realized that my body could no longer handle going round and round and round, and I would come off feeling.
Just imagine giving the talk on the teacup. As you sort of like the screen, you have to just look at it. You could start on teacup and you can make your way up to the roller coaster.
Just open the window, and then they tell you what to do with it, and then
One of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life was, you may remember this, Tim. There's a person who we don't mention anymore because it turns out he had a horrible past, but he used to do this show where he would fix it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Where he would fix things. So people would write in their letters and say, I want to do this extraordinary thing that is never going to happen unless you make it happen. And then he would do it and they would film it. And it was this little kid from the Boy Scouts, and he decided that he wanted to take him and all of his Boy Scout mates on a roller coaster that sort of goes round and round and upside down, and all of them were going to try and eat a packed lunch. And it was literally hysterical because not a mouthful went in. They would be holding the sandwich and they'd be going, and it would just bounce, and then the milkshake lid would come off, and it was absolutely brilliant. Anyway, there we go. That's apropos of nothing, but it was very, very funny. Right. Okay, moving on. That was CloudFest. Here we go. Post status. this is Michelle's territory, most definitely. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so what's a new launch for Woo branding? I thought, wouldn't it be nice to catch up with some of the Woo folks and do a podcast with them? So I had Tamara Neeson and Bo Levens. Tamara is the CMO for Woo, and Bo, I missed his title, but he's definitely like overseeing the project itself. So
Oh, he's got a really
about
unusual title, like
Artistic
he's
director.
yeah,
the
yeah.
artistic director. That's it.
So I apologize for not having that off the top of my head right now, but it was a great podcast. It started with Tamara, and then Bo joined us about halfway through, and we talked about the branding, but we also talked about the roadmap for Woo and where it's going, and we talked also about how the WordPress ecosystem works. And I said, when you start to build more things into core, and you're basically making other people's products in the ecosystem obsolete, how do we deal with that? And so we had a lot of those kinds of conversations. It was a really good conversation. So I encourage you to go ahead and listen to the transcripts there if you'd rather read it. But yeah, it was great. And then same day, a few hours later, I actually interviewed Mary Hubbard. So I always say, it's Mary. So that's also on YouTube.
There it is.
Yeah, so the post will go live. I've just checked with my staff to find out why it hasn't already been posted. It should be. But the post on post status will link you back here as well and provide a transcript, etc. So that'll be live a little bit later today.
Can I just ask, is it, hang on, we're back to is it this bit here that you're worried about? This is the interminable WordPress video block.
I don't know why I did that.
It renders the block, it renders the YouTube video, I reckon about 20% of the time, and the other 80% of the time it just gives you the text of the video embed link. So
I'll check into that. That one is a lot. It is live on YouTube, but it's also obviously you can listen to the audio.
I've tried that block about 800 times, and it is just a total lottery whether it works. My advice would be use an iframe. It's just gonna work.
I don't usually have problems with it, but I'll double check it. It just might be that the link is not quite linking through, so I'll double check that one. The post for Mary hasn't gone live yet, but I don't know why it should go live soon. So
okay, well I have the link for it, and it will end up looking like that when you.
Can we just take a moment to say how awesome a name Cash Up is?
Thank you.
You've never been on at the same time with promoting it for me to say it, but yes, I really like that name.
Thank you.
Cash Up.
The other podcasts, the ones that Corey Miller had, or like the draft, and I can't remember some of the other ones, but I thought, well, what can I use that kind of leans into tech with cashing up? I'm going to cash up with these people. So
nice. Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so there's two pieces from Michelle this week. So one about Woo, which coincidentally is kind of, let's see if we can get to it. Here we go. Woo has had a bit of a rebrand in the background. I am no graphic designer, so honestly, if you show me a new design, I'm basically going to go, oh, it's nice. Yeah, it's purple now. Yeah.
We joked that they did it to match my hair. And
I see.
Tamara said, I thought you did your hair to match the new branding. So, I mean, chicken egg.
This green is all the rage at the moment. We're seeing this all over the place, but there has been a significant update. So there's the new logo. Got this sort of purple background to it. I'm sure that green will be a part of it. I'm not entirely sure. There's the sort of the smaller logo. It looks like a sort of shopping. That's quite clever. I quite like that. It looks a bit like a shopping cart, because of the, it's got like a handle at the beginning of the W, and then the rest of the W makes up the shape of the shopping cart. And then there's loads and loads and loads of speak here about why it's changed and how it adapts to the new users, and being up against Shopify and things. Definitely not Spotify. That's a totally different thing. Shopify and Wix and Squarespace and all of that. And all the while, that's brilliant. But I'm just going to look at the logo and go, that's quite nice. I like that. That's a nice logo. So I don't know if anybody wants to get stuck into that, but I like it. It looks better. But if you're asking me about the psychology of it all, I'll just go, I quite like it. That's it.
I am confused. Has it now officially become Woo?
I have an answer.
Oh,
if you listen to the podcast, you will find out. The overall project is Woo. The platform itself is WooCommerce.
So is that not still really confusing? I'm confused. So what do we call it then? Do we call it?
So if you're using the plugin and its suite of products, that is WooCommerce.
Okay.
But the overall project itself is Woo.
Okay. I'm still
So
confused.
it's
It's
more
a
than-
woo-woo to
it's
me.
more than it's more than the software, right? So
Yeah. But I just want one name. That's the basics of it. I just want a
well,
single...
are you not Nathan, but also Nathan Wrigley?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, but I want everybody to just call me Nathan. But yeah,
All
you're
right,
right.
Mr. Wrigley.
.org
that's
versus
right.
Nikki.com.
Yeah,
Is there
yeah.
is there a middle name to Nathan Wrigley?
There is. I do have a middle name. Yeah.
What is it?
It's Ashabanapal. It's not
Making up
that.
stuff as you
It's,
go, I
it's
know.
John. It's John. The thing that my parents very cleverly thought that if I didn't like the name Nathan, I could go with John, and if I
There you
didn't
go.
like Nathan or John, I could go with Jonathan. But luckily, I liked Nathan, and so that's it. But
I'm just gonna call you NJ from now
yeah,
on.
I'll tell you my passport number if you like as well, and then you can all have fun going on holiday as me.
I'm more interested in your bank account, but that's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go.
No, you're not, Michelle.
So it's not confusing. It's only confusing to people like me, but I do like it. I've got to say, for whatever the things are which make something look more modern, I can't encapsulate them in my head. It does have that, and
Yeah, it's
I
nice.
rather like it. Yeah, it's nice. Anything, Corey and Tim, on that before we move on? Running out of time.
We always run out of time.
All right. Okay, in which case, I'll bring this to your attention. This is Patrick Posner. He works with Mike McAllister on the Ollie theme. In fact, I don't know if they're both on this project as well, or if this is just Patrick. But I've only ever spoken to Patrick about it. He's had a plugin for a little while called Simply Static, which it took it over from somebody else and has kept it going. And it enables you to create a static version of your website and then ship it. If you've got the pro version, you can ship it to things like Netlify and a variety of other different things. I can't remember the providers, but there's a bunch of providers. But he's taken a new turn this week and has launched this, which is, I don't know if it's called like hosting or something like that, but essentially now he's going to bind hosting into it. So you don't have to even go through that step of setting up a Netlify account or what have you. And for free, looking at his page here, you get to generate a static site. So I think free is what you always had with free. You could get a zip file and then take that zip file and upload it somewhere, unpack it, and it would just work. But now if you go with the pro of $199 a year, I think that then just deploys it all automatically for you. And then $19 a year, a month, I think that's like a waitlist item. So I don't really know what's going on. So I don't know if I think he's taking care of the hosting for you, but I just
Only on the studio plan.
So that's this one here that we don't know about. Okay.
And that studio plan, I'll be honest, I did some digging because I was curious. Anybody who's got a background in hosting is going to look at his plan and go, how can you get away with not saying all the things that you're meant to say?
Go on, what do you mean?
Things like, I think basically as a CDN, he's using BunnyCDN based on the number of points of presence. So that's because it had a very specific number that you could Google and go, right, it's funny. But where it's hosted, how it's hosted, what measures are in place with the hosting?
Okay, so we don't know. I'm guessing he's going to have to put all that together. I know he's got a really interesting life at the moment. He's doing the digital nomad thing where he's working from wherever he ends up. I think he was in Laos not that long ago. But okay, thank you. You've remembered what I had forgotten. The studio plan is the new bit. The pro and the free bit, I think, are what have always been. But this studio plan, at some point, if you hop on the wait list, presumably by law, he will have to say what Tim just said isn't being said, say where the data's
not necessarily by law, but by if you want anybody to sign up to it. For some people, it will be. There are certain companies in the EU and in the UK that cannot host their data outside of the EU and the UK, so therefore they need EU UK based hosting. Likewise, there will be in Singapore, there will be in China, there will be in America. So he will eventually have to give more details. But from the very limited information given, it sounds like he's putting it on some sort of back end and then using BunnyCDN as the CDN, which is a good choice for small scale projects. So I imagine it would work quite well. And what he's using. It's not a bad service.
Yeah,
terrible name.
Yeah, BunnyCD. Yeah, I know what you mean. But the idea would be that you'd have this sort of like website which exists for a period of time, and you can kind of like hibernate that. And then, or at least it's not the front end of your website. And then when you push the button, when you log out or what have you, it'll zip up the file, send it to the CDN. The CDN, maybe Bunny or what have you, will take control of it. And then it'll just be flat HTML files, CSS, a bit of JavaScript. They have integrations with a variety of form plugins, but I don't really know how they work. But it's an interesting option. And maybe for some people, having that like lightning fast thing, if you've got a small site, might be just what they're after. So there you go. And Taco says, the UK passport isn't valuable anymore since you left the EU, Nathan. Yeah, it was me that did that. It was me that left the EU. I decided arbitrarily that the entire United Kingdom ought to just wake up to the fact that the EU didn't need us anymore. Basically, I've got an Irish passport, Taco, so I'm immune to all that silliness, thankfully.
Weirdly, the UK passport is still ranked at like number 4 in the best passports to have list.
Yeah.
And most EU passports are not ranked below it.
I take them both. So when I leave to go to a European country, I miss the line, and then when I come back to Britain, I miss.
You still have to queue up everywhere. Don't get me.
No, you don't. No, you really don't. If you've got an EU passport, an EU country, typically it's a lot quicker. Anyway, there we go. Taco says he used to be a nice person. Right, moving on. You still are, Taco. Right, okay, let's go to this. If you're using forms with capture on them at any point on your website, you might be interested to know. This isn't really a WordPress thing, but in the more recent past, I think you see these more or less everywhere. They're ubiquitous, aren't they? At the bottom of a form is some kind of humanity check. You know, tick the pictures of the cats, line these puzzles up. This looks like that. And eventually, if you've done enough of them, you'll throw objects at a wall because it's infuriating as all hell. But if you do manage to get through it, you'll be, brilliant. We love captures. They make my forms incorruptible by bots. Google's had the most popular one called Recapture. I don't think they made it. I think they bought it many, many years ago. And it's really popular. And my understanding, I don't use it. I use Cloudflare's Turnstile wherever I go these days for that exact thing. But I understand it's free. It always has been free. You can do as much as you like. Not anymore. It's going to be moved to the Google Cloud Services platform, I should say, and you are going to be charged. It's honestly, I think really, it's not a lot, really. I don't know what the fee is going to be, but the free tier seems fairly fine. 10,000 assessments per month. Oh, no, because that'll be bot assessments as well, won't it? Oh,
that's not 10,000 successes.
Oh, it doesn't say that, does it? Mind you, this is on Search Engine Journal, so we don't know if they've misreported that or not. But okay, 10,000 assessments. You can imagine Google writes their own script to make this service profitable on the first day every month. Go and
believe that would be illegal.
Yeah. Yeah, don't hit every.
We were trying to do a web search. Googlebot just accidentally crawled your capture 1 million times.
Yeah.
With our new JavaScript enabled version.
Yeah. How many times did it call it? 9,999 times. So you're allowed one free assessment.
Nathan.
Yeah.
Could you bring up the most recent post that I put in the private chat?
Oh, I can. Yeah. Is it to do with this? Let me just.
It is. It's tangential.
1 second. Copy link address.
I'm sort of hoping that this is the chess capture.
It is not.
Is it not? Right. I'm on X, so I might.
Oh.
What? Oh, okay. Yeah. It's a capture. Why? It's not just. Please. Okay. For those that are listening, it's picture. It's pictures of either me or Michelle. That's brilliant. I do have a memory that you've got that up. I'm going to tick. This one is me. This one is me. This one, this one, and this one. That's brilliant, Michelle. That's fun.
Let's face it. The whole thing is like looking in the mirror for you.
Yeah. I got shown one the other day, and it was picture. Like this wasn't a real one. A friend showed me a comedy one, and it was picture. Even thinking about it is making me laugh. It was pictures of muffins or a chihuahua. Turns out that if you get real close to a muffin and real close to a chihuahua, they basically
look the same.
Exactly the same. Go and Google it now, all of you. Chihuahua and muffin pictures, and see if you get something akin to a capture. Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you, Michelle. That's made me jump.
My pleasure.
So
Give the
anyway,
Thanksgiving.
yeah, you've got to pay, and there will be disruption. You are going to have to recycle the keys, so stuff will break. So you do have to know about this. Try Turnstile. I think it's free forever and ever. I don't know. Maybe
It's
there's
so
a
much
number.
easier.
Yeah.
It's behind the scenes. You don't have to do anything.
Oh, do you go for the invisible one? Do you?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all so slowly but surely ceding even more control to Cloudflare to destroy 99% of the internet when it inevitably breaks.
Have you
Sure, let's go with Cloudflare.
have you got like weird intuitions about Cloudflare then? Do you see Cloudflare because like if you'd 12 years ago, I thought Google was this really altruistic company that did nothing wrong. And I had really high, if you'd have asked me on a scale of 0 to 100, what are the morals of Google? I would have given it a flat 100. I would give it almost nothing now. And you're right, like things like that. Cloudflare, it does worry me, but I don't see any evidence of it at the minute, but maybe there is.
I mean, Cloudflare is a company, and it's a company that it does many good things. It does many dubious things, just like any company does. And once you start having a percentage of the web being that flows through you, you inevitably have to be considered to be a bit dubious, and that we should start worrying about it, because that's how we end up with not a distributed web, which is a problem, because what happens when a authoritarian regime decides, actually, you're based in our country, so we can just take you over, or a billionaire decides to buy it up because he's decided that he was upset about something, and runs it in. So whenever you've got these sort of massive corporations like this, you have to be a little bit wary about how much traffic's going through them. That doesn't mean that they're doing anything wrong, and obviously it's also that's like the whole job of a company, to be successful. So you can't say, oh, they're bad because they're successful, because that's their job. But yeah, we should always be wary of companies that have a percentage of the web.
What did you say, Corey? How much was it?
16.
16% of
According
all
to a
internet
quick
traffic
Google search.
flows through. Oh, Google. Sorry, say that again.
Cloudflare estimates, so it's their own number, estimates that around 16% of global internet traffic passes through Cloudflare.
I mean, it's a scary statistic for AWS as well. If you imagine how much, how many important services run through Amazon's infrastructure, and ultimately we are consolidating large sites on the big three, on Amazon, on Azure, and on Google. These are then being backed by putting a layer in front of them of Cloudflare. So these, as we're doing this, we're slowly but surely destroying the web. Now, that might be not a problem for most people, but long term it might be. It might be a horrific problem.
My solution.
This is why I learned how to farm.
Yeah, well, I dug a big hole in the back of the garden and I put blanks over the top, and I'm just going to go and sit in there and get damp.
You also that's a decision you have to make, whether or not you can go, oh well, I'm only going to use the bit of the web that's not controlled by corporations.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
you can sit on your own little bulletin board in the corner and wait for someone to dial up into you.
I feel like all people that use Linux have sort of had this discussion with themselves, about the corporate nature of the laptop or whatever. And it's like, I'm having a Linux laptop. It's going to be so difficult. I don't care. I'm having a Linux laptop. Nothing will ever work. I don't care. I'm having a Linux laptop. You won't be able to print anything. I don't care.
Printing works brilliantly on the Linux system.
Yeah.
The only part of it that does. No, that's not true. Most of the things work on a Linux laptop.
Upended your own argument. But that's an interesting point. Anyway, Google's services are becoming charged if you've got 10,000 or more. Don't go to Turnstile. Evil is all I can say. It's just, I didn't say that, by the way, lawyers, whoever you are, wherever you are, didn't make any such reference. That was a joke. I spent, Reese, I spent not a small amount of time last week completing Doom Capture. That sounds like it's a game or something.
Yeah, the game Doom in a capture. If you have to do the level to prove you're a human.
What? I'm lost. I don't get it.
right? So you could put you know that there's like a running meme of can you play Doom on it?
Oh, okay.
Can you play
Yeah.
Doom on your capture?
Oh,
And what
God,
made a capture
really?
was
Oh,
Doom.
Reese. Oh,
Oh my
Reese.
goodness.
Reese, what the heck? That sounds like...
See, the thing is that I'm like, that's all well and good, but wait until you can put Civilization and do all 13 hours of it to get through before the end of it.
Well, this is a good point from Taco. At least we get a bit calm. If Cloudflare goes down and AWS goes down, at least you can like have a biscuit, sit down and just relax for a bit. Mind you, most of the corporate world are not doing that. They're just freaking out. By the
Just
way,
think about
Corey,
the number of notifications that are building up.
yeah, exactly. Corey, the way that you drank that bottle just then, you got this perfect angle on the camera. It just looked like you're drinking from an entire tank of water. Look at that. It's absolutely huge. Corey drinks 8 liters of water at a time. Okay, so there's that. And then the very last piece that I wanted to mention today, this is probably about right, is if you love the AI, which I know more or less everybody does, then you'll have definitely heard of DeepSeek. I was so pleased. It kind of made me feel quite good in a way. I didn't pick up on DeepSeek at all until everybody had got bored of talking about it. You know, there was all that, woohoo, DeepSeek, the new thing and what have you. I didn't really pick up on it as a thing. Now that whole thing seems to have washed away. Just, you know, the fun of OpenAI claiming that they have been stealing their data, which felt a little bit sort of hollow, given where OpenAI gets much of its data. But this piece came along. If you I love this. If you are a DeepSeek user, it's highly likely that you just tick through on the terms and conditions and just said, yeah, whatever, you know, it'll be fine, it'll be normal. But apparently, if you did click that, one of the terms and conditions is that you are liable for DeepSeek's company travel expenses and the cost of hiring lawyers and things like that if the AI requires sort of, you know, legal defense. So I'll just read. DeepSeek's terms of use contain requirements that may make users reconsider using the app, as they could shift the balance between benefits and perceived risk by imposing significant financial obligations. This is on Search Engine Journaling. One such requirement makes users liable for travel and litigation expenses if they violate the terms, and the violation results in legal action. Section 7.2 of the terms has 3 parts that are fairly standard. It asserts that the power to enforce its rules, report suspected legal violations to authorities, and shift legal and financial responsibilities onto users. However, the third part includes travel expenses and the costs of collecting evidence and paying fines, and the users, i.e. you, are solely responsible for legal claims, demands, and losses that arise from violating DeepSeek's terms of use, engaging in activities suspected of breaking law or regulations, or being involved in legal conduct. Maybe I'm just over-egging it, but it just makes me giggle. If they got in touch with you and said, thanks for using our software, but, you know, it gave some weird stuff out that we didn't expect. We wish that you'd have tried harder, and we wish it hadn't given you a load of rubbish, but we're going to come after you now because of what our software did for you. I just thought that was priceless. So the moral of this story, I don't know what the moral of this story is, but there's probably a moral.
Be careful what you click.
Be careful what you click. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good title for this episode.
Yeah. Be careful what you click. Okay, I'll write that down. But there you go. I don't know if any of you are massive users of AI, but if you are,
I feel I want to just like do the tiny but actually,
oh, I know there is more, but it's way worse if I do the more bit at the end.
Well, no, just for the so this is obviously the DeepSeek.com chatbot, not the actual model, which doesn't have such licensing. And God, have you actually paid attention to any of the other licenses that you've ticked off?
Oh, I bet it's terrific, right?
But it's interesting, isn't it? How people are went from, oh no, DeepSeek, it's amazing, to all of these articles slowly but surely trying to chip away at its legitimacy. Because it's ultimately you just see this over and over again, that like, and it's all coming from the same sources and bits and pieces. But yeah, OpenAI's terms are equally as mad, yet nobody's writing papers about how how using their terms gives you X and Y, Z. So it is a little bit of propaganda.
I know, but it's fun propaganda to read.
I know, but
Let's get
it is
sponsored on it.
fun. But so is the serious point attached.
So is
you know.
the inverse of this? Every other company will fly you to wherever.
Yeah, that's what I was
Velocity.
thinking.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you get a free trip to San Francisco.
Yeah. If we need to get you in front of some lawyers, we'll fly you in and pay for your lunch.
Be very careful with that. You know, oh, free trip. Oh, where to Cuba? That sounds. Oh, hang on, which part of Cuba am I going to?
AI is all the hotness in WordPress at the moment. And just to finish it off, we've got 5 minutes, so we'll finish it off this way. A couple of pieces in the WordPress space. The first one was Brian Cords, who wrote a piece called Getting the Block Editor for AI. And he was explaining about how a client wanted a particular thing to be done. And then getting into a conversation that he had with Matt Medeiros, who's been creating a lot of content, video content and what have you, all about trying to build things with AI. And the fact that it's not really just a case of you get the thing that you want. You've also got to build in like a UI for especially on the WordPress side of things. If you want to do something, you can't just build the functionality. You have to build in the functionality for storing that data, for retrieving it, for editing it, for updating it. In other words, there's like 10 times more stuff going on in the background. And then Remkus did a piece, and I've not heard of this. Remkus did a similar piece. Well, not really similar, but it's called How to Get the Most Out of Cursor for WordPress Code. And essentially, what I'm learning about AI from the distance, because I'm not really using it, is it's all about your capacity to prompt. In the same way that it was all about your capacity to code, and the knowledge of that was incredibly important. Feels like we're entering an era where those people who really understand how the prompts deliver, they're going to be the people sort of pushing the envelope with all that. And so Remkus brings something to mind called a product requirement document. And the idea being sort of setting out all of this kind of to the AI before you start. And if you do that, apparently the chances of you getting out what you intend is far greater. You know, you don't just ask it a blunt question of build me this. You tell it how to build it and what you need out of it in terms of a UI and all of that kind of stuff. So here we go, a couple of sort of AI pieces. Don't know if anybody wanted to.
And of course, the truth lies somewhere in the middle, and depends on which app you're using and interacting with which service. So at the beginning, not to call myself out, but at the beginning of this podcast, I actually wrote out a long prompt because I was like, well, Nathan's blathering on about British shows that I've never seen. Let's have it generate a bunch of, because I was actually watching a bunch of videos this morning. I tried Copilot, the free version, last couple of weeks, and then today, and Twitter seems to be predominantly showing me at least things that advocate for Cursor, that it's miles better. So I was like, okay, so let me spend $20 for a month of Cursor and let's compare. Not at all fairly or equally, but let's just try something, right? Like, and see what it did. And so, but it's watching a lot of videos. They're like, you can either generate these documents, .rules, but apparently the .rules is going away. And so, but you do want to do some thinking and write out long prompts, but then it's specifically really good at like, update this piece of code to be these 4 lines of code and a certain, to fix a bug or whatever. So it's all still a moving target has been my experience. And even day to day, something will seem to be good about fixing a bug, and then the next day trying to fix a similar bug, it'll go haywire. So weather patterns, whether the captchas are pictures of Nathan or not, all seem to affect whether this stuff, how well it works for you.
I like the idea of it being the weather. We can just blame the weather. However, on an uptick, I suspect that in the future of AI generated code, Tim's going to have loads of work. So it's not all bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is genuinely the case already. I already do, during code reviews, I can pretty quickly pick up which bits have been generated by what AI program you're using. ChatGPT 4 has a very specific style unless you tell it otherwise, and Sonnet 3.5 has a very distinct style unless you tell it otherwise. And those are the two sort of like the big ones that are being used in production places. And this code is going into production often without thinking through a plan, without doing the checks. But it is surprising how easy it is for you to go, hey, dear AI overlord, please actually apply the WordPress coding standards to this code base.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, or somebody said that to me.
I'm amazed the number of times I've seen this and gone, why did you not do this? I mean, also, why are you not putting this through linting and proper checks as well? But very few people seem to do that. On the which ones to use, they're changing so much. I mean, I've got a copy which I was playing with this morning of VS Code Insiders, which is like the beta alpha of their new tooling set, and it's much more like Cursor or Windsurf, and it's rubbish. It just falls over and dies and can't manage even the most simplest tasks, and goes, hello, I'm overwriting these files. What? Those
It's
files
got the
aren't even
flu.
in my working directory. Where have you gone?
Yeah, it's just temporarily got a headache. It's just had enough for a bit.
But at the same time, you can every time you see this stuff, you can sort of see the future, and people who are learning now will be ahead of the game. And there is, we have reached the point where the genie has been taken out of the bottle. So you either have to learn that you really like genies, or you need a new profession where you don't, where far, far away from a genie. And I don't think we can push it back in the bottle. We're still not going to be able to do that by wishfully thinking that these things don't happen, or saying, well, I don't code with AI. I was like, good for you. You also don't get jobs anymore.
Oh, it's like I
Okay,
remember
so-
going to a coffee shop that didn't have Wi-Fi because they were like, we only want, pensioners who read books and have real conversations, and we will not have people working. And I'm like, and you'll be out of business in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So
And they're a Starbucks now.
Yeah,
Right,
that's right. Got
exactly.
taken over. Yeah, very good.
The
I would
really
like to
sad
just
thing
point
is-
out that on the topic of AI, one, Michelle is speaking on a panel about this topic, and two, subsequently hasn't said a word because she doesn't want to give away
Give away
whatever it
It's-
is she's going to say.
It's really hard to get a word in edgewise with the three of you. But what I did want to say about AI is and the US government, which is very specific, obviously, to Corey and myself, is that there's this huge lawsuit and this huge deadlines looming over us about TikTok because of its ties to China and feeding information into the algorithm. Nothing has been said about how much information we put out in all the other places, especially when we're feeding everything we think about into these AI. And DeepSeek is definitely ties to China, right? Which is very interesting to me that there's focus on one particular platform when all of these other platforms were just like, take my data, please.
Yeah.
I find it amusing that ByteDance, the people behind TikTok, also have an AI editor. And it's sort of okay, but would you use it?
Right? I mean,
I'm honestly, now that I've heard, I'm morally compelled to go and try some more AI at the end of this episode.
I thought you were going to say that you're just going to use paper and pencil from now on. Take
Well,
photos of it.
I'm
going to
try. I'll give it 8 to 10 minutes and see what comes of it, and then I'm back to pencil and paper.
My
like,
blog posts are all just going to be handwritten.
I
It's
am
going
getting.
to suck for SEO, but
I'm getting more Luddite as the days go on. There's a bit of me which kind of I'm kind of like that guy that wants to play vinyl. I could have Spotify on my phone, but I want the record player and all.
How
that.
is your Caterpillar phone doing?
It's. Do you know what? It's a battle. That's all I'll
Caterpillar.
say. I've got a flip phone, and it's sometimes it wins, sometimes I throw it. Luckily, it's made by Caterpillar, so you can throw it against any wall, and it comes off better
It
from all it
survives.
gets. Yeah, it's really hardcore. It's built for people to throw. It's basically built for people on building sites, and so it lasts forever. But it's an ongoing love-hate relationship at the moment. Loads of stuff about AI in the comments. I'm sorry, we've kind of run out of time, so we won't be able to get to those. But hopefully, you'll be able to see them between each other. And that's it. That's all I've got time for. I think I'm going to call this one "Getting the Genie Out of Corey's Bottle." I think that's where we'll go with that. There it
I
is.
think I
You saw it here first, or not, as a thing.
I like what James Lau just said, though. He says the pen is mightier than AI.
Yeah, the pen
you
is
go.
mightier. That's
Can I
true.
modify that to your brain is mightier than AI?
Yes. Yeah.
Also true. Yeah.
Yeah. You wait and see, Tim. You'll be eating those words when the AI overlords come to get you.
I mean, AI is hive mind, so. I don't
And
know.
on that bombshell, let's end it. Thank you so much for chatting to us. If you're in the comments today, I really appreciate it, whether we got your comment on the screen or not. Thank you so much. It makes this show so much more interesting. And also, obviously, goes without saying, I'd like to thank our co-host, who is Michelle Frechette. She's over there. And Corey Mass, just there. And Tim Nash, who's over there. Really appreciate it. We'll be back. Oh, no, we won't. I was going to say we'll be back next week, but I've had an enforced hiatus of 2 weeks. Because of WordCamp Asia, so we won't, unless somehow I manage to cobble. No, that won't work. So I
Don't put
just
that on
decided,
yourself.
we'll have a couple of weeks off. So we'll be back in this date plus 14. So it's the 10th today. Difficult maths. 24th, I'm guessing, something like that. So we'll see you then. Thank you very much. Last thing before we go, let's do the little hand waving thing. Oh, he's got the
Nathan,
bottle.
you're not coming back on the 24th.
No. What? No, that would be 2 weeks. You're right.
Yeah.
It would be the
one after that.
7 days after that. So however many days. Can I do that again?
Sorry,
Sorry, let's do that.
of.
Yeah, I have to do the hands again. That's great. Thank you very much. And we will see you whenever it is, 2 weeks from now. Thank you. Take it easy.
3 weeks, right?
See?
March
All
3rd.
right. Yeah. Oh, I can't add up.
March 3rd. We'll see you March 3rd.
Yeah, thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.